What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Clocks Runnin, podcast for everything flag football officials. I'm Ant.
And I'm just a chill guy. What's up? I'm Jacob.
Oh, man, you're so chill.
I'm just trying to be a chill guy talking about some chill flag football refs, man.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy.
How are you?
I'm good, I'm just, here in the cold weather of Ohio, just hanging out,
Yeah, it's not sunny and warm like LA anymore?
Nah, but you know what? This time of year in LA, it's raining. So it's not sunny,
Well, I mean, still not, 3 feet of snow.
That's true. Now, Colorado this time of year, it's like the sun is out and there's 3 feet of snow. Like it's a combination of sunny and snow all at the same time.
It's like a summer thunderstorm in North Carolina. The sun shining through, thunder's clapping, rain's falling. Nobody knows what's going on. I'm not with
it. Speaking of North Carolina, can a couple days ago you mentioned, maybe it was today, I don't know when it was, but you mentioned some saying. Tell me this is a North Carolina saying. Something with a goose and a dog. What was that about?
What? I mean, what now? A goose?
Yeah, didn't you say something about finding a goose and a stack of dogs, or I don't know?
Oh. I mean, if you got a row of dogs lined up and there's a goose standing in it, it's going to be pretty obvious, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the deal?
I mean, are geese like everywhere in North Carolina, and that's why that.
We have I think a normal amount of geese.
Okay.
I wouldn't say we have a overabundance of geese or gooses.
It's just. Go ahead.
Have you ever? I was watching A Christmas Story last night, the Patrick Stewart version. Really good version, by the way. If you haven't watched it, Patrick Stewart, he's Professor X in X-Men. Anyways, so I'm watching it, and they bring a goose out to eat for Christmas dinner. Have you ever eaten goose?
No. Yeah. No, I haven't.
So you put cream cheese on a Philly cheesesteak, but you haven't had goose.
I'm still no, I haven't. You've had goose, is what you're telling me?
Yeah, I've had goose, but it was still like exciting. I was like, yeah, but it was more like a novelty thing, right? It wasn't like we're gonna have a feast and here's goose.
You ran the goose over with your pickup truck and threw it in the back and
so fun story. So I was in high school. Long story short, I had these two friends who were really big, right? They were both bigger than me. One threw me into the side of my pickup truck. We were joking around, and I put a big dent in the side of the truck. So I'm trying to think of how I can get out of this. So I called my dad, and I'm like, Dad, a goose hit my truck. And this is no joke. And he was like, a goose? And I was like, yeah, a goose hit it. He's like, all right, well, come home. Let's talk about it. So we get everything situated. It's all said and done. And he said, all right, so what really happened? No, a damn goose did hit your truck.
Man.
All right, enough about geese.
Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. It just seems like in North Carolina there's this whole like counterculture that I've never experienced.
Counterculture? I mean, I think you're embracing it.
Oh, okay.
We're not just sitting around fiddle farting around, with nothing to do.
Knick-knack that. Okay, all right. Let's get into flag football. Okay,
let's do it. Let's have a little fun.
So you, speaking of where you've been, last weekend you were in San Francisco. Next weekend, right? You're going to be in
Dallas.
Arlington.
Yep.
Okay. Why did you say pause after San Francisco?
What? didn't say pause after San Francisco. I just said, yeah. I was with you. So correct.
Okay. I thought you said pause somewhere in there, but
Nope. I did not say pause.
all right, cool. So to just recap Bay Area from director perspective, Jacob.
Yep. Oh, I thought you had a question with that. You just want the overall. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So, I mean, the Bay was fun, right? I think it was a bigger tournament. It was a local tournament with a handful of out of town teams, right? It felt very the vibe was fun. It was very close knit. You could tell everybody kind of knew each other, and then those who didn't weren't looking for problems overall, right? From a non-contact perspective, the games were pretty competitive. Um, Team Afghanistan on the men's side ran through, both formats they played. They had a clean sweep on Saturday. On Sunday, Curry Bombers came out and did what Curry Bombers do. They had a great job. They did a great job in fours. Coed as well. Coed was a pretty stacked division, I thought, as far as West Coast players go. Women's was really competitive. Utah Sting came out and showed everybody they can play. But it was the usual suspects there. Game Changers was in both championship games. Top Shelf was great. She Unit was great. Surprise team, the players at the 9 seed came through and beat the 1 seed, which was
Nice.
Utah Sting in the women's. So they came out to play. Their pool play wasn't spectacular, but they stepped up in bracket play and got it done. See what else. Contact was interesting. Women's mixed breeds kind of just I think it was mixed breeds and She Unit. They did their thing with a 14 bracket. There wasn't everybody kind of saw everybody. It wasn't. We kind of had an idea when we got into the bracket play how it was going to go. But for men's, it was interesting. Shark City put up some made a little noise. But all in all, I think contact out there is treated a little differently, and a lot of those teams weren't super familiar with contact. So when they were putting hands on people, it was an experience for them. Some responded well. Some had to get checked and just say, "Hey, we're playing football here. We're not trying to kill each other." So they some of them had the learning curve.
Yeah. So you think that's? I mean, was it mostly Bay Area teams in contact, or were there other? Was there guys from Fresno too?
Location, I don't know. It
Oh,
was
okay.
Team 211.
I don't know what that area is.
I don't know either. Team Mob.
That's Cali Mob.
Yeah, Cali Mob.
Yeah.
Shark City, Purple Rain. Who were the other two? One team just went 0 and barbecue. They were done. They didn't. I don't think they realized what they signed up for.
Yeah.
I will say this, kind of going back to the women's, it was cool to see the Arizona State Sun Devils women's flag club team came and played, air it out. They were only able to be there Saturday.
Okay.
I think they went 0-3 or 1-2, but it was cool to see a collegiate team enter and show up and and kind of get their bearings for what they were getting ready to get into. I was talking to one of the parents, and they said this is one of their first tournaments outside of anything club related. So they're learning, but they did well. They were able to move the ball. They were able to score. Shout out to Jonah. Jonah gave them, kind of talked them up and stuff after they got done playing and stuff. I did see that, but yeah, it was overall, man. The tournament was great. Weather was great. Still not used to the West Coast where, at 5 o'clock when the sun starts to go down, the temperature drops 20 degrees. So that was a little brutal, but it was cool. It was a cool experience.
Yeah. Well, you talked about sightseeing. So what did you check out when you were out there?
So Coop and I, we got to go to the bridge. Got to go see the bridge, and you could see Alcatraz from afar. And then on our way to do a couple housekeeping things to get ready for the tournament, we drove through downtown San Francisco, so we got to see a little bit of that and kind of experience. You see all the pictures and photos and hear about the hills and how things go
Yeah.
from sea level to however many feet it is. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Did you go down there's one road that's like I don't know if it's the biggest slope or the tallest incline or whatever. Did you go
I,
down that one?
I'm not sure if we did or not. I mean, I'm sure
Okay.
there was probably like a sign or something, so probably not. But I do know
Yeah.
we had to climb like 3 or 4 hills in a row, and me and Coop were both like, "Man, I don't know if our cars could do this at home."
Yeah.
So,
You would have not known if it was. I mean, it does a bunch of switchbacks, and it's like it's such an incline. There's a point where you're just like, I think the car's gonna flip over.
oh
Like,
really? Yeah. No,
yeah,
we didn't hit that one, but we had a few where it was like shoot up, flat, up,
yeah,
flat. It was back and forth, which was, I mean, it was cool to see. So, and
yeah.
cool to experience.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's a good opportunity when you're traveling to be able to see things like that.
Yep.
All right. So to bring it back to some of these divisions, so I think with contact, we've talked about it where there's sixes in Southern California. I know in Northern California they don't really play that at all. But like DK said that there was no reason for New Dynasty to even go up there because they were going to be playing patty cake the whole time. Do you feel like it was patty cake or was there some contact going on?
Well, Patrick Alley was not there, so there was no patty cake. Um, nah. Um, it's different styles, right? Even in North Carolina, we have some teams that they use contact as their advantage to not have to be as strict on the non-contact rules, right? They're not the teams that are come out there and be the bruisers, but they also don't they're not a slouch either.
Yeah,
I wouldn't put any of these teams in a bruiser category. I wouldn't say necessarily it was patty cake. It wasn't like it is here in North Carolina. I think I could have, we could have put together a team from North Carolina and gone out there and probably done pretty well.
yeah,
But I'd say it wasn't. They would have had to play in a couple of games. They would have had to kind of step it up for a couple of those games. I'll say that.
yeah. Yeah, and I know Cali Mob. That's a team I've played plenty of times. It's an 8-man team that sometimes goes down to fives contact or they do
Yeah.
sixes out there. So they're an experienced team. So that doesn't surprise me that they were the ones that ended up winning. Women's contact. I mean, I think it's great that there were 4 teams. She Unit and mixed breeds have played each other probably 300 times at this point.
And that's
Like,
since the 4th of July.
yeah, yep,
So
yeah. So that's kind of old news with that. I mean, it's I know that they switch players out and players. I wonder how the DMs are with women's teams in Southern California because there's like it was something I noticed is that there's definitely women that like there will be a new player and I don't know where they find her if she plays in the tackle league or she just came onto the scene from anywhere and one team will pick it up. Say Mixed Breeds grabs her and maybe she'll play with Mixed Breeds for like a season or two, and then somehow Jonah ends up with her.
I mean,
Like,
you gotta shout them both out. Those are two very prominent figures in women's flag. Not even just within LA, but nationwide, everybody knows them,
yeah,
right? And people want to play for both of them, so they don't struggle to pick players up, and they probably do bounce off of each other a little bit more than we think. I'm going to use this comparison very loosely because
okay,
I don't think there's anything that actually compares to how true the rivalry is. But it's probably a similar situation with like Duke and Carolina, right? Where the teams themselves are rivals,
yeah,
and the fan bases. Even in flag, I'm not going to say we have fans or anything, but like the peers around it, they see and they probably pull for who they want to pull for, right? But, they used to say that Coach K and Roy Williams and Dean Smith, and even, you look at Heber Davis and John Shire now, they're colleagues, they're friends, while they're, when they're coaching against each other, they're competitors. And it's probably the same way on the field for them. But they probably talk. They probably network and try to work stuff out together. That'd be my bet.
Yeah. I mean, just to give a backstory. I don't know if Jonah or Jackie want me to talk about this, but there was a time. There was a time that I found myself at a party in Arizona with both of them there, and so
Hey, big man, what kind of parties you going to?
I mean, hey, in my playing days, things were different. It just. Everybody knows everybody. I mean, it's just kind of how it goes. Especially, I mean, I think that was like Arizona, like I think they called it Flag Fest that Sergio put on. He put on for a lot of years. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Sergio. Oh gosh, Phoenix Fire guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
I know Sergio. Yeah, good people.
Yeah, so yeah, it was one of those tournaments. So everybody kind of traveled to Phoenix in that moment, and the Airbnbs were limited, so we were all.
Oh, so it was. Oh, it wasn't a party. That's a slumber party, buddy.
Yeah, I found myself on the couch.
Hey,
That's
man.
how I roll.
Whatever you gotta say on camera, that's cool. That's cool.
Oh man, but it was a good time. It's funny to see, and I don't know if you see this in Tampa, if you've ever gone to like the player events or anything like that, but it's funny to see players outside of flag football. Perfect example is like Kevin Dickens from KOV. That guy in the club is very different than the player.
Have you been to the club with him, Ant?
I've been to a player event in Tampa where he was at, and it was at a club.
You wouldn't happen to be referring to this guy, would you?
Move your head over. Oh man, yeah.
Okay.
It's so funny because I first met him when he was playing with I don't know if you ever heard of this team, the Nebraska Pharaohs.
Yeah, that was his first team.
Yeah, so that's where I first met him, and we had a good rivalry because there was really not Colorado and Nebraska aren't well known at all, so we would always match up against each other. But as soon as he moved to Texas, things changed. He definitely took it to a new level for sure.
Yeah, yeah. He linked up. I first met him linking up with Travis and all that good stuff. So yeah, seeing his adventure, has been pretty cool.
Yeah, his hero arc, as you call it.
Right? My what?
I don't know.
My hero arc. See, now you're just trying to make up southernisms, and it's not. That's not cool, man.
No, hero arc. Like every there's.
Are you calling him Hercules?
Did you exactly? You know what I'm talking about. In English, didn't you learn about this? Where every hero has.
I took English all my life, buddy.
You guys don't speak English in North Carolina. That's something else.
What do you mean? Of course we speak English.
You guys speak Hillbilly.
Well, I mean, yeah, but it's the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Pretty basically, right. It's the same thing.
Fair enough. So, any controversial calls come out of the Bay Area at all, or that was pretty mild mannered?
Controversial call? I don't think so, man. There wasn't really anything that was, that was just like glaring or wild. Something to talk about. We updated the rule book about a month ago, and one of the things in Coed was, if a female participant sacks a quarterback in the end zone and causes a safety, it's 3 points. It was cool to see that happen. and teams realize, oh shit, we're getting an extra point,
Nice.
and they kind of lit up a little bit more. So that was cool. I do think there was we did have to kind of clarify, hey, if I'm QB1 and I'm a male and a female is rushing me, I turn around and make a backwards lateral to QB2 who's standing in the end zone and they drop it, they don't get 3 points from that.
Okay.
Just because I'm rushed by a female doesn't guarantee you 3 points. They have to physically cause the safety.
I feel like the people that would have an issue with that are the same ones that in league play, that when there's leagues that keep stats and that same scenario happens and the rusher's like, me, I get the sack, give me my stat. Like,
yep.
I'm the closest to the ball.
Right. And at that point, when it comes to stats and stuff like that, in the grand scheme of things, like 3 people are going to let it matter in 10 years. Cool.
Yeah.
Mark it down as a stat, but points, we're not going to award points for that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm telling you, when I was running tournaments and leagues, I kept every possible stat I could. I had a whole website. I had all these. I mean, I had a tablet on the sideline that I was entering things per game, and I did that for 6 years, something like that, 6 or 7 years, and those stats that website is gone. Those stats so.
That was the most brutal thing for the early stages of Camel City, and even to this day, technically we still try to keep stats. It's just not a very feasible. You got 2 fields going, you're trying to keep up with stuff, and you're trying to, not take away from the game and be available for when there's issues. It's difficult to do, man. At first I used to hire stat trackers, right, and they would keep I tried to keep pass attempts, pass completions, and it just became so much that we ended up scaling it back pretty big. So
there's a guy out of Southern California that created an app for keeping stats, but also like for teams and players to register for things. And I mean, a whole system, and he was pretty successful with it because teams, picked it up, or leagues picked it up for all over the country. And, that was something I always struggled with in California is initially when I first came out there, they were like, oh, we could show you this system and you could keep stats. And I was like, no, I'm here to ref. Like, don't teach me that system. Cause I don't want to get pulled. And then sure enough, there were leagues that were like, nope, you ref and keep stats. And that put me it happened so many times where a player was like, you didn't see that? Why are you looking at your phone? I'm like, this is my job right now.
Yeah.
So anyway, as far as so no controversy, anything else really happened in the Bay Area you want to talk about?
I mean, it was a pretty quiet tournament, man. We went out there, we had a good time. Got to meet some new officials. They, some younger folks and some folks. It was kind of glaring, who was our experienced veterans and who was our younger, newer officials. But it's all part of the process, right? If you want to get new officials involved, you want to keep people going. You want to keep these games going. You've got to constantly be introducing people to this. And I think, in the scope of things, every championship was covered by multiple vets. Semifinal games were covered by multiple vets. We didn't just have Tom, Dick, and Harry out there doing whatever, in important games. We try to do our best to make sure we balance that. But I think, part of these officials getting better and part of them of growing, and it's the same thing with playing, right? You've got to get the repetition in. You can't. I can sit in front of a computer screen and read for hours about how to make a basket, but until I put my hands on it and start weaving the basket together, you're not going to get better at it. So I think it's important to get the on-field reps and get these guys and ladies to get on the field, get the reps in, and just get better.
Yeah, and everybody knows about basket weaving, so that's a really good metaphor to use.
Thanks.
Uh, in the in the big scope of things, the big picture, what made this event better, worse, or the same as Orlando, San Diego? Some of these tournaments that were kind of the equivalent to it.
I'll say this: of the 3 California tournaments, I would say this was the best one, and it's not
Okay.
so much. It's because of the vibe. That's the thing for me. If we can have a smooth tournament with no hiccups, have adequate amount of officials, make the days go on. That's key for me. I think the competition plays a big factor, right? And I would say of the 3 California tournaments, probably San Diego or LA were probably I would rank San Francisco or the Bay Area tournament as probably number 3 as in list of competition, right? But
Yeah.
but I'd also say that the vibe was way better in San Francisco. We had a good time. You know, people there were. I mean, of course, there's always going to be the people who are upset about the out of bounds that they miss or whatever, or doesn't get called or whatever they don't think went their way. But on the flip side, people were out there enjoying themselves. Shout out to Dula, man. He kept everybody entertained. First thing Saturday morning, he's out there jamming with us and playing his music for the teams while they're playing. Speaker goes out, but we're still able to have a good day. So I think overall it was a really good week. I think the vibes what separates this tournament from everything else.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think that the West Coast is starting to catch up, or finally catching up to the East Coast, to Florida, to Texas? Think it's happening?
I don't think they're behind. I don't think they were ever behind.
Oh.
I don't think they were. I'm not saying they're ahead, but I don't think they were necessarily behind. I think they play their own to what they're given. Um, grand grand scheme of things, they might have been a little bit further behind just because they don't constantly play. But it's its own world out there. Probably 70% of the teams that were at that tournament will not be in Tampa.
Mm.
I think just because it's such a logistical nightmare for them to travel from California to Florida. Not everybody's got the funds to make that happen and to make that work, which is completely understandable. But I do think for what they have out there, their competition is pretty good.
Okay. Well, that's surprising coming from you. Leader of the SEC of contact flag football, the one of Bex plus one himself.
I'm not the one. I'm not. I've never been a part of that team ever.
I don't know, man. I feel like there's a picture out there that exists.
There's not, unless it's photoshopped. Apparently, we just need to have Chad Beck on, and so he can clarify and just let everybody know that I've never been one of the Becks because you keep screaming it.
No. Go ahead.
Look,
Sorry.
I love my guys here. I'll say they're the best and they can match up with anybody ever. And that's not just Becks. That's all my teams here locally. And they're not even my
Okay.
teams. They're their own teams. But yeah, I'm gonna tip my hat to, you pay respect, to where it's deserved.
Yeah. Do you feel like? I've heard guys make statements like, "Oh, the worst rec teams in the East Coast could beat the top pro teams in the West Coast."
No, that's not
Yeah.
true.
Okay.
That's not true. That's now, do people say that? Absolutely. And as a competitor, I would say it too.
Yeah.
But I don't, the reality is that's not true. You're not going to send the worst rec team from North Carolina to the West Coast and tell them to beat the Curry Bombers, beat Ronin, beat Team Afghanistan, beat all these teams that are really strong. Even in the women's formats, you're not going to send the worst rec team over there to play top shelf, play She Unit, play mixed breeds, play Utah Sting. I don't want to lump Game Changers in with that because that's a Texas team. But
Yeah.
but you're not going to. The reality is that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And
Do you think? Oh,
no,
go ahead.
no, yeah, go ahead.
I just do you think kind of as you're talking, I feel like air it out. Do you think that format has kind of leveled the playing field in a lot of ways?
A little bit. It's made. I think if anything, I don't think it's. I don't think it's lessened more dynamic teams, but I think it has raised the level of one-dimensional teams. Right. So teams that the quarterback's not as mobile, stuff like that, where they get kind of in those where they're gimmicky and they can only go so far with that. I think air it out's made them be able to take a step further and go further. Your dynamic teams that are throwing 6 throwbacks to make a forward pass, and then that forward pass went 3 yards, and then they all just go 5 wide and try to run down the field. I do think I don't think it's lessened their ability, but I think it's definitely kept them. It hasn't raised their ability.
Yeah, gotcha. I just
sense.
just noticing. I remember when Air It Out first got kind of introduced. I know that's like an old format that kind of came back around or whatever. But I remember when it first came around recently, and it was really small. The signups weren't that big, and I mean, looking at this past weekend, I think women's air it out might have been the biggest division the whole weekend. So I mean,
15
that's
teams.
cool
Yep.
for that's cool for women's the women's game. That's cool, to see air it out do that. Now,
Yep.
speaking of gimmicky and kind of screwy things, switching over to Coed Air It Out, which is very strange.
It's
Do
nothing but a
you
gimmick.
do you feel like with the rule changes and kind of adjusting the wording, do you feel like things are going to be better compared to how it was in Nashville, where there were kind of a lot of issues that came up and just it was a frustrating format?
I think the biggest thing with Air It Out Coed in Nashville was we still had some kinks that needed to be ironed out, and we hadn't come to a universal conclusion, right? I think so.
Okay.
We were all trying to be on the same page, and somebody had the different book, and we were still writing the same pages in, trying to line it all up. But I think the clarity that we put in, it would be nice to have a tournament before Worlds that has this, that we could sample this and
Yeah.
make sure it works. I thought we were going to have that this past weekend in the Bay, but it didn't work out, and that's okay. But I do think
Yeah.
we've made it simpler, right? I think by letting the rushers play a little more and have that ability, I think that helps, and I think that makes it easier on the officials too, because it takes intent out, it takes all the extra stuff that they shouldn't be looking at out, and just lets them play football. This is air it out in itself should be the purest form of football. Takes away the laterals, takes away the pitches, takes away the throwbacks, all the gimmicky stuff that flag football is exciting about flag football, but it also, pays homage to the sport of football itself. So I do appreciate air it out for that, and I think Coed, if anything, it's gonna make things better, right? I see. I don't see any regression. I see it just going up.
Nice. Well, yeah. I mean, if air it out is the trend, then maybe Coed Air Out's gonna follow that same trend. I mean,
It could.
it definitely it gives it. I think if nothing else, it gives another opportunity for women to play flag football, which
Absolutely. Yep.
is awesome. So okay, cool. Well, I think we beat the goose pretty good with the Bay Area. So let's move.
All right. So if we're gonna use Southernisms here for that, it's called
Oh,
milking
okay.
the cow. All right. You're gonna milk the cow.
All
You're not
right.
gonna beat the goose. Beat the goose sounds like something. Never mind. You know what? I was getting ready to go down a path that I don't want to go down. But
I just
we're not gonna beat the goose anymore. Okay. If we're gonna play something out, we're gonna milk the cow.
Okay, so everyone outside of North Carolina, just they all want me to ask this question. So there's a limit for how much milking can happen to the cow?
Well, yeah, a cow will dry up if you milk it too much.
Okay, good.
You
Hey,
think
sorry.
they got like a tank in there and it's just bottomless milk?
I don't know. I don't know the answer. The people outside of North Carolina don't know the answer. So
Hey,
y'all,
well, you know what? I think there's cows in 50 states. Um, so I think some of you guys, if people are asking this, they need to get outside.
okay, all right, my bad.
That's all right. That's all
So
right. Keep
I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but the top 25 was released today.
okay.
Um, what do you have any? There was a lot of feedback today. I think this month more than any other month we've had a lot of positive and negative feedback about this top 25. So did you get a chance to look at it at all, or
I did actually. I have it right here. If you look at this list, man, it is covered in West Coast teams.
yeah,
So and to be honest with you, I mean, if you look at the target audience for this show and kind of where things have gone, we've kind of shifted to the West Coast. They follow us more than what the East Coast does.
yeah,
So I think that needs to be considered when people are looking at this. Number one, this isn't based off of anything other than a committee of people who gets together and they vote, right?
yeah,
This isn't based on, we don't there's no points that are taken from tournaments. There's none of that. It's literally you're given a free reign to pretty much vote for whoever you want. You can vote for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on here. And if nobody else does, they'll get mentioned in that team's receiving votes column.
yeah. I mean, there is a team called TMNT, but
Okay, well, thanks for
anyway.
completely ruining that. The Milking Cows. Is there a team called the Milking Cows, Ant?
I'm sorry. I don't know why you're so upset tonight. No, absolutely. And I did have some messages come through where questions like, well, don't you look at strength of schedule? Aren't you considering the players on the roster when these votes are tallied? So
Is
go
this the
on.
college? Is this a college football playoff? No, this is flag football.
Yeah,
Have fun with this. Is it?
yeah,
Celebrate the ones who got names. Don't worry about it if you're not.
yeah,
Or if you are that worried about it, do better.
yeah, yeah.
Make
I
yourself
mean,
recognizable.
yeah, for sure. And your guys down in Arizona are loving it right now because they got that number one. They have all reposted it, sharing it with all their friends and family. They're excited about it.
It's on at least 3 refrigerators printed out. Jordan Harrison is number 1, not to call names, but
Not to mention any names. So, yeah, and it's funny because just looking at it, like first place votes, YTG did get the most first place votes, but YTG also has the most haters, and so they got those first place votes, but then all the other people voting put them way low on their top 25.
and that's why this ultimately, I mean, it's an opinionated poll.
Yeah,
It's not a people who take it seriously and get, want to get their pitchforks and torches and go down Main Street and, cause a problem. This is why. You're
yeah,
not going to have friends everywhere. I know I
yeah.
don't. There's people who don't like me who think I'm irrelevant all over the place. And that's cool.
Well, I wish I had a Southern saying that I could like respond to that. I don't know. That's
Respond to
uh,
what?
respond to people that are that you're not the fan of. You should be everybody's
Hey, well,
favorite.
you
I
know
don't.
what? Everybody's not going to like the duck in the pond. That's fine. So sometimes if you don't like, you just got to keep swimming, man.
Why is the duck in the pond?
Why is the duck not in the pond?
Oh my. Okay, a few more things I just want to mention on this top 25. So the Curry bombshells,
Okay.
even though they brought 37 people to the picture this past weekend, they if you look at the whole year of 2024, I don't think they lost the tournament.
Now
So
let's also look. Where all did they play this year? Not being funny, but they played
yeah,
L.A. They played Worlds. They
mm,
played L.A.
Nashville,
Nashville. They did
Vegas,
they Vegas. Did they come to San
uh,
Francisco or not San Francisco? San Antonio.
San Diego. Not San Antonio. No.
They were not in San Antonio. They were in San Diego.
Yeah.
They were in San Francisco. So I
Uh-huh.
mean, they played 6, 7 tournaments, and if they won every one of them, it's absolutely justified for them to be up there. Laws man bun
Yeah.
or not.
Yeah.
You
I think
know?
the only I think the only one they didn't win was Worlds. But at this point, that was a year ago. So I think that's the other thing that you have to think about is when people are putting together their top 25. If there's teams like Free Smoke or TDR, teams like that you haven't seen since Worlds. I mean, are you really going to put them in your top 10?
All right, so let's be real here. So number one, Free Smoke has played. They played in Nashville, right? So they've played since World. So we'll give them that. Let's look at TDR. When's the last time TDR played? No disrespect for to those dudes
Yeah,
because they're all monsters.
yeah,
However, how can they be on a list accurately if they haven't played at all?
yeah,
That's
and,
where
and
this
they,
is opinionated.
yeah, and they won Gauntlet at Worlds, which look at Gauntlet how you want. It's I mean it's a different monster, but you don't have 40 teams signed up for
No,
Gauntlet.
no.
So you can't compare, Pro Gauntlet to fives or fours or any of those. So
Yeah, I agree.
yeah. So other than that, the only international team still on the list is Afghanistan. They made it into the top 25 because they won two over the weekend. And then
They were
Guyane.
they were so good too. Like not to get off track here, but man,
Yeah,
they were so smooth. It was
yeah.
just everything was just smooth about what they did. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't crazy. They just did their job and just played good football.
What I'm hearing you say is they're now the top team out of the Bay.
I just said they were smooth. You know, if
Okay,
if you need to pull that tuna fish out of the pond, do what you got to do.
oh, there's a tuna fish. Okay. No, you know what? I have seen them time and time again. They got their chemistry is pretty unmatched. I will say that as far
Yeah,
as a unit. So it's cool to see them win over the weekend. They didn't face the Curry Bombers in the bracket, and maybe that factored into it. The,
don't do the
I'm,
easy road.
no,
They
I'm
no,
just
they played
saying.
in men's. They played Curry Bombers in the championship, right?
Was it and air it out? Which one did they? There was one
Men's.
where, yeah, there was one where like HBK beat Curry Bombers in the semis, like a final play of the game situation, and then HBK
That was
played
that was
Afghanistan.
5 non-contact. That's what it was.
Okay,
That's
yeah.
what it was. Okay, you're right. It's all
So,
coming back. It was like I was there.
but yeah. so, yeah, so that's just I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Other than that, lots of women's teams. Like I said, the one international team outside past Afghanistan is Cayenne from Canada. They did win in Nashville. I think they won in Camp Worlds as well. So there are, I would say, every team on here, they have solid resumes
Yeah.
across the board. Really there were only a few outliers where, the voters would randomly have one team, and that was probably a homer kind of pick where it's like, yeah, I'm from Florida, and so I gotta mention Sick with It,
Right.
or those kind of things. I'm from Texas, I gotta mention Freaks. Those things where, yeah, they did play at Worlds, they won at Worlds, but since then they have not They have not done anything. So
Right.
I would say that that's those outside of that across the committee. Just they know who their 25 are. We've been doing this since Nashville, and
Right.
it's and it's been I think it's smooth. It's been going pretty good. Like I said, this one got the most response, good and bad, for sure.
Yep. Absolutely.
So the other thing that I just want to announce and talk about as far as this goes. So this will be the last one of this year that we'll do. I know that there's Arlington next weekend, but we're just going to chalk it up as, hey, we're not going to do two in a month.
Right.
That's a lot of work. So what we will do before Tampa though is we're gonna do a preseason top 25.
Okay.
So prior to Tampa, and that's where the voters will just get free reign and they can throw whoever they want on this top 25. Still we want to include men's, women's, co-ed, contact, non-contact. 4, 5, 6, 7s, 8s co-ed even. So I'm excited about that. I think it'll be fun, and we'll see what
Yeah,
the voters do.
definitely.
Cool. Just one last thing. I told you it was cold here, so I need you on the hot seat for a little bit, just to warm things up. There's just a few start cut bench scenarios I want to throw your way.
Okay.
If you have one off the top of your head that you want me to answer, I have no problem with that. But
Yeah, okay.
um,
All right.
all right, cool. So we're gonna talk about wide receivers.
Okay.
All right, so we got Rock, Jay High, and Tyler Davis, TD.
Who?
So he plays.
That's just getting cut. That's easy. All right. So I'm gonna do something a little unconventional. I'm taking Rock. I'm gonna start Rock, and I'm gonna
Okay.
bench J High. And then whoever
Okay.
you mentioned last that I don't know, they're cut. That's probably
He
somebody who's
did
really
play.
good and really talented, and whatever. Cut him.
I think he played in the NFL.
That's
From what I
cool.
heard.
Cut him. Cut him. He's not playing there now. Loser.
Okay, fair enough. My bad.
Can't wait for that to get
Okay.
clipped.
Okay. Next up, hopefully you'll recognize these names. Okay, female wide receivers. We got Neek. We
Neek.
got Izzy,
Okay.
and then Meech.
Starting Neek. You said Meech?
Yeah, you know what
Izzy?
I'm talking about.
I think so. Yeah, I
Yeah, she
think
plays
I'm
level up.
okay, yeah. All right, so I'm starting Neek, I'm benching Meech, and I'm cutting Izzy.
Okay. You're cutting the wide receiver from the national team. Got it. Check.
Clipped.
Okay, two more. We're gonna do two more. Okay, so we got now we're gonna talk quarterback. Okay.
Okay.
We got Brandon from Supreme,
Okay.
Tronky,
Mm-hmm.
and Vince from TC United.
You said Vince?
Yeah, isn't that his name?
I think so. Yeah, so I'm cutting him.
Okay.
I'm benching Tronky, and I'm starting Brandon.
Oh, okay. All right. All right, cool. Now to the women's side for quarterbacks. We're gonna, West Coast is fresh on your mind, so we're gonna talk West Coast. Asha, Jonah, and Turbo.
That's a good one. That's actually a pretty good one. What format am I playing?
Air it out.
Oh, you dirty dog. You dirty dog. All right. Man, that's tough. they playing with?
Okay, they're playing with four female players from the national team. They each get the same 4 players. I'm not giving you any advantage here.
Yeah, I know. I see that. Air it out makes it only much more difficult. All right, well, I'm going to go based on how this weekend went, right? So
Yeah.
I'm going to start Turbo. I'm going to bench Jonah, and I'm going to cut Asha. And if this was non-contact, I would start Jonah, bench Asha, cut Turbo.
You said non-contact?
If this was just non-contact.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, that's
all right.
yeah. Do you have one for me? Did you think of one? You want to throw one at me?
I got one. No, never mind.
Okay.
Never mind. Not for the show. This will start something.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. So just to round out the show, just one other thing I want to talk about is the clips that we've been posting on social media lately. Has there been one that has stood out to you that you're like, I can't believe this many people are saying the wrong answer?
Where do we start? Good Lord. I look at some of these. I try not to comment on, or I try to intentionally comment something goofy.
Yeah.
Because I want to see what people say. I don't want to get on there and comment, and I don't want certain people, like I don't want certain directors who know what they're talking about to get on there and say oh, this is what it is, because then nobody else comments, right?
Yeah.
You want to see people. You want the interactions. But my goodness, I'm looking at some of this and I'm like, guys, it's literally free on a website that the phone that you might or might not be paying the bill for. You can access it. Google Chrome has it, Safari has it, Firefox has it. All the internet outlets. You can go to usaflag.com/.org, /rules, and you can go right to them. The basic rules, everything's right there for you. At the palm of your hand, the very thing you're commenting the wrong thing on, you can go right in there and look at it. But my goodness, some of these are funny, and some of these are confidently wrong. That's the best thing.
Confidently, yes.
I mean, I'll give you an A for effort for being confident about it. Because if you're on a field and you're confident as an official, you're going to have people who don't question you. Yeah. Because he said, and he's this and he's that, but he said it like, he knew what he was talking about. Okay, cool. He's still wrong.
Yeah.
And I tell people, if you're going to try to sell something, you've got to be confident with what you sell. Or what you say. So, I'll give kudos to that, but my goodness.
Yeah. I mean, when they are literally trying to, quote a rule as if they read the rule book, and they're still just making it up. Like it's just
again. I'll give them credit. They're trying to sell it.
So. I will say, I think the biggest gap that I'm seeing in these clips is just the understanding about what contact looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality of it is, and I totally understand it. And we've had players on here, somebody like Law, where he will say, "Look, I will tell my players, see how the refs are, and we're going to respond in that way, because we're not going to be the team that's following the rules and then getting beat up by this other team."
Yep.
So I completely understand that in those moments, in those scenarios, but this is a situation where we are presenting a clip. We're saying, what's the call? What's the rule? And they're just like, oh, it's nothing at all. Get in the weight room, this or that. And I'm like,
get your weights up.
Yeah, I'm like, this is a non-contact game. Like it is very, and there have been some ones that are just absurd, and it's in a non-contact game, and flags are being thrown too. So it's not like the
Right.
official was like, no, I'm good. Like they're throwing them.
Get your weight up.
So I think that's the biggest disparity. I understand. You brought up a really good point tonight about younger officials. The only way that younger officials get better is if they're out there on the job training. They got to learn. They have to see. They got to work with Lance. They got to work with these veterans to be able to understand that. Oh, okay. Actually, if he runs through this guy like a locomotive, that's actually a penalty, and I need to throw that because they don't have pads on, they don't have helmets on. There's got to be a concern for safety. So
I had an instance in fives aired out on Saturday in the women's division where two defenders, they're coming in for the flag. The girl's running. She didn't try to break her line at all. Both defenders, instead of going for the flag, hook and pick her up and stop and then pull the flag. And no penalty flag came out. And I walked up, and this was one of the younger guys, and I walked up behind him, and I said, "You gotta throw that." And he throw that. And I said, "They can't wrap them up like that." And he goes, "Oh." I said, "So throw your flag when that happens." "Yes, sir, you got it." And for the rest of the day, that kid was fine. But yeah, man, it's like you said, the younger generation, the younger you are, the more impressionable you are, right? So as veterans to the game, we've got to show these kids the right, the right way to do things, the right positions to be in, the right, what you're looking for, what you should be looking for. In a perfect world, they'd be able to shadow somebody and be able to talk through stuff and watch a ton of game film and all this other stuff and get kind of like a word by word of how the rule book's supposed to be. But a lot of it's just OJT on the job. Yeah, sorry, brain stopped working for a second. But yeah, a lot of that's just on the job training that you just have to get thrown into the fire with. One of my first flag games I officiated was two pro 5 contact teams, and they started screaming from the first snap. So you figure stuff out, you keep moving, and you just rock and roll with it.
No, absolutely. I mean, the first time I worked with Lance, I mean, I was wearing a bucket hat. I think I had colored socks on. I was in style. Like I was just a chill guy.
We're just a couple of chill guys. We're always going to be a couple of chill guys.
But the thing is Lance took the time. He didn't just say, "Hey, get this kid off my field," anything like that. He spent time. He worked with me literally in between every halftime, in between every game. He was talking to me about something. He was pointing things out. Not only was he sharing with me things about my positioning, my angle, what I was looking at, flags I should have thrown, things like that. What did I see? But he was also talking about what he was doing. And so trying to have me understand, which is funny because as a player, when, my team, we would see Lance, of course, all the time, anywhere we traveled. And it's funny because like one of my team captains, he's Asian also, and he always felt like Lance. He was like, "What?" He's like, "Lance, what is this? What is this Asian on Asian hate?" And like he just never understood it, and he'd always get frustrated. And I remember being as a player on the sideline, like saying to my captain, like, "Bro, like it doesn't help. Like he turns you off. Like he is ignoring you, and it's like all the yelling is not doing anything." And it's funny though. After working that tournament with him, the first phone call I made was to that captain, and I'm like, "Bro, I actually understand a lot of why things were happening the way they were.
Yeah,
it's because when you're in a 2-man crew, there are blind spots. There's things you have to do to cheat a little bit, but things are going to get missed, And as a veteran, you have to understand what's the priority,
right.
So yeah, so that's backstory a little bit on that, but yeah, I mean, it helped me immensely. and it was stuff that I was just like, from that point on, I changed what I was wearing, and I made sure I was in the rule book, and I just kept trying to get better and better and better. But what helped me the most was reps. You got to get reps.
You got to get on the field. You got to stay on the field. Don't let
Yeah.
a bad game run you off and not have you working anymore. So,
Yeah, for sure.
definitely.
Well, cool. Well, that being said, anything else you want to, final thoughts you want to talk about, chill guy?
So, just trying to be a chill guy over here. Hey, so I got a fun thing to share. So while we were in the Bay, we had a little, some time to, talk and kind of have some fellowship with the guys and all that good stuff. And, the college football playoff bracket came out, right? And, myself and Coop and Chun, the three of us kind of have, a gambling problem. So we like to bet on any and everything. Most of the time our bets are very like, hey, here's a dollar for this, here's a dollar for that. Little stuff like that, just trying to go back and forth, just have something to, pass the time and make you stay a little more invested, right?
Yeah.
But we were talking about the playoff bracket, and we were like, how can we incorporate this to be fun? So I'm going to share with you guys, we already got the green light to do this, I think. So we all filled a bracket out, right?
Yeah.
And the winner, the person with the best bracket going into Worlds, because at that point we'll have the championship game set. The person with the best bracket gets to decide how the other two have to paint their face for the first day of Worlds. So, well, you might see me and Chun walk in with a goofy face. You might see Chun and Coop walk in with a goofy face. You might see me and Coop walk in with a goofy face. So, just something to keep up with. If you see us walk in and we've got, look like, a couple of, the cowardly lion from Wizard of Oz, mind your business. All right.
I was about to say, I mean, are there any limitations on this? Like,
yeah, I mean, there's a couple parameters. Like, we're not going to go crazy, with certain things, and plus, you got to think we've got to be able to work too.
yeah,
So, it's going to be within certain limitations. But at the end of the day, we work hard, we play hard, we try to have a good time, and I'm super thankful for those guys and all they do for me and for the sport. So
yeah,
just to be able to have a good time with them, it means a lot.
no, for sure.
And I think the last thing I'll say, just to kind of piggyback on what I was saying earlier about younger officials and stuff, and make sure if you guys are working with younger officials, or working with newer officials, you're working with guys who have been doing this for 10, 20 years. Give them the same respect that you would want them to give to you. We're all there to do, at the end of the day, to do one thing, and that's to provide a service and try to, do the best we can and be, as honorable and have the integrity and be unbiased as possible. But, there's times where things don't go the way they should, and adversity kicks in and things can go left quickly. But just try to do the best you can to do what's right and do what you would want. Treat somebody the way golden rule, treat somebody the way you'd want to be treated. I know in the heat of the moment that doesn't always happen, but at least acknowledge it.
Yeah,
So be able to move from it and recognize it and try to do the right thing.
yeah.
So
Oh, for sure. Well, to piggyback off of your piggyback, kind of, I will say this about, speaking to veteran officials, we were all rookies once, so let's remember that because, there was somebody, whether it was Lance, whether it was, the guys from the DMV, whoever it was, they took us under their wing and they took the time to train us up, to help us, to point things out to us, and they did it in a way that didn't discourage us, helped us grow, helped us see that this could be fun and this is something that we enjoy doing, and we didn't just say, you know what, screw this. I tried it one time and I'm not going to continue. I can go umpire softball on Thursday nights and it'll be so much easier. Whatever. But
yeah,
we all need to remember that we were all rookies. We all had a day one. So, let's keep that in mind with younger officials. I know for myself, there's been times when I have to remind myself, like, hey, it's some of these younger guys. It's just like me talking to my teenager. You gotta have patience. You gotta understand. You gotta put yourself in their shoes a little bit. Not everybody is trying to officiate to make it to the NFL or to make it to the Olympics. They're not going to spend the next 4 years officiating.
Yep.
But there are some people that take pride in what they're doing, and so if this is what they're doing right now, they want to do it right. But if we're not leading by example, if we're not showing them the right way, talking to them the right way, where are they going to learn it?
Exactly. Yep, absolutely. Completely agree.
Cool. Good piggyback off the piggyback.
Off the piggyback.
Off the piggyback. Okay,
Yep.
cool. Well, that being said, next weekend you're in Arlington, right?
Yep.
You didn't want to throw together like some random tournament this weekend just to pick up more.
Just to keep rolling. No, this weekend I'm smoking barbecue butts. So, see, there you go, looking at me like I'm crazy again. It's a pork butt, man. That's what it's called.
Okay, it's fine, man. It's funny because you started the sentence and you're like, yeah, this weekend I'm going to be smoking, and you didn't like finish it at first, and so my mind went somewhere else, and I was like, oh, he understands what 1998 is all about. Like, he gets it.
I know what 1998 is all about for you. It was like 2007 to 2012 for me. So
there we go.
But yeah, we're cooking some barbecue this weekend, and gonna take a little break from football, and next week we're gonna pick right back up with it. So
that's awesome.
We got about a month till Tampa, so really gearing up to that, and these next few weeks are gonna fly by. We're all gonna be sitting out in front of each other, 1,300 teams ready to go.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that being said, we are the world's greatest #1 flag football podcast. We're claiming it. It's
Critically
ours.
acclaimed, yeah.
Critically acclaimed. We've won every award possible. I think we won a Nobel Peace Prize at some point. Like we're here. We're not going anywhere. What are we on? Episode number 49. Next week is
we're gonna hit big 5-0 next week.
Yeah, we have almost been doing this for a full year. It's exciting stuff. We are going to continue to push content about flag football on a daily basis, and really everybody's looking towards Tampa. So we want our content to look towards Tampa and really prepare everybody for it. All the people. There's a reason why people are getting tagged in these videos. It's because you guys keep answering it wrong.
So, I'm getting tagged. Hang on.
So anyway, that being said, you will find the clips of What's the Call or Start Cut Bench. You find those on Instagram, on Facebook, on Threads, on Twitter. Those are all over the place on social media. TikTok is a little weird. I think I'm kind of a little too old to figure TikTok out. I'm still trying to figure it out though.
Okay,
so look to see the TikTok beef up a little bit.
The TikTok.
But more than anything, people that want to listen to the podcast anywhere that you can find a podcast, we're on it. We're on iHeartRadio. We're on Spotify, on Pandora, on Apple Podcasts, everywhere. So if you are looking for it, just click on the link tree on the Instagram, and you will find that. Most importantly, though, this is where it gets really fun, right here on YouTube. So you got to check us out. But when you check us out, when you watch it, when you go to see your name mentioned because you got benched by Jacob, hit the subscribe button. So then that way it's no surprise the next time you're mentioned. We love to have fun. We want to include players, and we want to recognize good teams and good players, and we would do. This is a big community. I think we've all benefited from the just what flag football can be in our lives, and so we want to share that, and we want to be a part of that, and we want to continue to just do it in a positive way. So we just appreciate everyone that does listen in and tune in and comments and all of that. It's a lot of fun. We love the interaction. Trust me and Jacob will not get our feelings hurt. You can say whatever you want about his front mullet or
That's right.
my my goose and my dog, or I don't know, whatever. But that that being,
I think my
that
feelings are going to start getting hurt.
that being said, Jacob, it's always a pleasure, man, and
Absolutely,
we'll
same
see you
brother.
next week. Yep.
Sounds good. Have a good one.